Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Strife's Sanctum podcast. My name is Citizen Strife, and this week is another of the bi-weekly rundowns of the anime that I've been watching over the past couple of weeks, and kind of giving thoughts, delving into spoilers, things I've dropped, things I've liked, things I've kept up on, things I've hoping to keep tabs on. And luckily for me, over the last couple of days, I was able to catch a lot of shows, both good and bad, so I have a lot more to talk about than I would have normally. But the usual rules apply. I'm watching dub versions, so I might be a week or so behind, depending on what, Crunchyroll or Netflix, which are the main ones that I use, have uploaded. And, technology may or may not be my friend. So, for instance, my friend and I have been watching My Happy Marriage Season 2 on Netflix, and it was so freaking cold, both our internets died, and technology was not our friend, so we're shelving that for a week. Or if something like a dub version, say Apothecary Diaries, hasn't been updated for a dub yet, then I'm probably a week or 2 or even 3 weeks behind, which is unfortunate. But as I've said before, spoilers beware. But that being said, we'll get started with what has been my favorite show of the season, which is Zenshu. And Zenshu, I don't know how prevalent it is, because I don't know how many people were caught by it. But it is a bait and switch, in the sense that I think if you weren't told it was an isekai, that first episode catches you off guard and it becomes an isekai really quick. And I have seen a few people, not many, but there is that concern that, okay, this is just some random 90s-esque isekai, or the, like I said before in the other review, the Ray Liana, where she knows all the information, but the story changes because she knows all the information and can change history. I think the difference there was the person watching it didn't know and was caught off guard. I was caught off guard myself because I didn't really read the description. I watched the animation. But to be fair, I wasn't really into the whole struggling animator struggles with her coworkers, whatever. There is a good story to tell with that. I just was happy with the isekai and what we've got. And Natsuko is such an interesting character that's just like, I don't care. As long as the show is written well, I'm good with either. I'm sure someday, if they want to do that, there is a show with this specific setup that I might enjoy. I don't really need to see a parody of the animation industry. Even with Natsuko, I think that would have been, I like what they have with the characters they have. And seeing Natsuko have this, internal monologue of, I'm enjoying my life, but there are other characters that are like, we can't really enjoy it. And the more that she kind of introduces other characters of this town that, up to episode 3 are aware that, okay, she has this special power and she's part of this new group. And it's like, okay, other characters are starting to peel back their life, lifestyles and their mentalities. Like Natsuko can enjoy her life a little bit, but she's reticent because she knows, okay, I'm changing the anime or the novel that this is taking place in. What is that going to do? Am I going to be able to predict things? Or she's seeing characters from her old life pop up as NPCs in this world, as bartenders or something. So how does that play in? Is this all just some random ass weird fever dream, from eating the terrible seafood or lunch, and she's just dreaming everything, that could be what she does. The main dude, Braveheart, is like, we can't be enjoying ourselves, this is dumb, and he's falling for this girl, Destiny, and it's like, okay, she's fine, she's just dumb. Other characters were introduced that would have driven me nuts if this was a drama, but because it's played more as a comedy, it's fine. Very goofy, very dumb, very lively, very colorful. I will say this much: the show is very colorful. Unio has this weird streak where he's kind of perverted for being a weird unicorn kid. I don't get it. And then the other girl, main is just there. I think they'll give her more as the series progresses, So it's like, all right, they're doing things to set up this new world, and they're slowly giving you more and more and more without it feeling like it's episodic. Because if it's just, hey, they showed up, do stuff, because you get that in the ends of the shows. You get the transformations that Zenshu does, and I really appreciated this week's one as a pro wrestling fan. I thought that was great. The mechanics of how she can or can't use her skills is a nice touch. And again, those transformation sequences are colorful as shit, and this show works so well. So if you haven't started seeing Zenshu, I would definitely recommend it. Another one, which I guess would probably have a little bit more publicity, is Sakamoto Days. And not much really changed in the second episode. Sakamoto and clairvoyant guy, I forget his name offhand. I usually list these things, but when I'm doing these rundowns, if I don't know them offhand, I'll just forget, So... Japanese John Wick runs a store with his family. That's what the first episode was. Second episode is introducing another character. So a clairvoyant kid starts working with Sakamoto, and they run afoul while going out shopping. They run afoul of this Chinese mafia, and this lady Zhao Tong, who knows Tai Chi, the more efficient martial art as opposed to the yoga-esque breathing technique stuff. It is a legitimate martial art, which is cool. And they're showing it off, and it's neat. She runs afoul of these people trying to get into their treasury of her family, who are dead, because of course they are. So Sakamoto deals with these two giant dorks with swords, and, played as a comedy, he has, no consequences. It's like, what weird, stupid shit can we do with Sakamoto's, newfound life as a store clerk? What weird stuff can we use? A spatula in a way? Can we use a fork? Can we use some tongs in a way? And then, of course, can we just use guns? Stuff like that. I think early on they're trying to establish, this is a weird shonen, but it's done from a jokey way. It's I'm not really into the I'm better than you and I'm gonna kill you. So I appreciate a shonen that has that crime drama backdrop, even if it's played comedically, because there's stuff you can do with this. I just don't know. I don't expect there to be high stakes in this. They're not playing at that. So they're definitely playing at this as, we know this guy is unkillable. Let's just have fun with it. So I think that in itself, as long as you establish that early, if this was played as a drama, I'd be sitting there going, come on, dude, this is stupid. But because it's played as a pure-on comedy, the stuff that Sakamoto can do, it's kind of like Spy Family. It's just just go along for the ride, And I expect this to probably be that solid number 2. At least, once the season 2s of Apothecary and other things filter down, as far as newer shows go, I think Zenshu's, for me, going to be the favorite. And I think that's going to have more legs than this will, but they're trying at different things still. So there's that. As far as another new show that I really liked, with this actually last night, I was going to bed and then these debuted, is Ameku MD, Doctor Detective. And it was weird because at first I was wondering what this was trying to be. I know straight up it's saying Doctor Detective, and the first episode is Dr. Sherlock. So I got this Kabukicho Sherlock and Inspector vibe from it, where the lady running the show is Sherlock. That's kind of the point. She can deduce things from looking at things, and she understands things, but that's not all there is to it. It's weird because she doesn't even get introduced until 6 or 7 minutes in, and it's the first 5 or 10 minutes are these two doctors doing all this, like, if it weren't for my backdrop in exercise physiology, anatomy, and biomechanics and stuff like that, and hospital, I've had some hospitals and occupational therapy stuff, and a ton, like I said, a ton of anatomy courses, and learning about the body. Some of the stuff that they were talking about would have seemed like Star Trek language. If you're familiar with The Next Generation or Voyager or whatever, when they talk, they'll use like space language or space lingo, and then a few minutes or a few seconds later you'll cut to the other person and be like, what does that mean in normal language? They even say that in the second episode. I think they say it for, could you say that for like us normal or common folk? So at least they're aware that like hospital speak and anatomy speak. I understood it because I knew the lingo, but it might drive people up the wall. But really what happens after that point is you get introduced to Dr. Takao, this like 18-year-old girl or something, this genius. She's basically Sherlock if she had a lab coat, or a doctor's coat. And it's like, it has some fun to it because her subordinate is a bit of a stiff, but not really a stiff. And it is played, again, very comedically. And you're able to just kind of let yourself go because she helps with these murder cases, or she's, figuring out like 4 or 5 steps ahead. Like she's leading these detectives, by the nose, like, come here, we're doing the thing. She's fearless. I love that. She's got this character that just speaks to me. And I'm really liking the first 2 episodes. And I think for me, what sets this apart from, something like Inspector, which kind of did the same thing, or Kabukicho Sherlock, which again did a similar thing, is that the ideas at play and the tone and the way they go about solving the mysteries. I mean, that's why I keep saying Inspector. Like the yokai stuff or the Rakugo stuff in those shows, add their own flavor to it, but it makes it sometimes hard to follow. And it always felt like for Inspector, and I don't think I've done a deep dive into that show yet, I'm planning to eventually, is that they've solved everything and she's just telling you how they did it, or how they're going to lie their way out of it, or telling you a different way of doing it, something of that nature. At least with this, when she's doing her deductions, she solved it in her head. And mind an ambulance coming by. Here we go. Like, Takao solved it in her head, but everybody else kind of hasn't. So the mystery hasn't been given to you. I think that's Inspector's main issue, is that they have the mystery solved and they're kind of working backwards. This at least is still moving the plot forward and still giving you jokey stuff in the span of learning about the mystery and doing it that way. I'm not a Sherlock Holmes guy, so I don't know if that's the way that the Holmes mysteries are, or if he's just 10 steps ahead or whatever, if they reveal everything as they go, or if they work themselves backwards. But I approve of this method more because I don't know everything. But maybe as Takao is revealing all this stuff, I'm seeing what she's seeing as she's developing it. And, I found that a little bit better because it just has an easier thread to follow with that sort of thing. So the mixture of all this doctor anatomy, body lingo stuff that she's solving, and then all the crime drama stuff, and then the subtle jokes and stuff that she has as a character is fun. I'm really liking it. This one I'm on the fence about, though. This is honey lemon soda. And the reason I'm on the fence, but I'm also liking it, is that I've said this before, I do not like doormats. I hate doormat characters. What at least this show does is this girl is trying to break free of her, like, they're called stony. Like, people think she's got this like weird, like, she doesn't talk, she doesn't do anything, she doesn't, she's one of those people, the meek, weak-willed, bland pieces of toast, So she just kind of does things. At least she has an internal monologue about it, But it does drive me a little insane because I don't really like those characters. I know that is part of the growing up experience and that's part of puberty, but I don't think in the scope of a drama or a show where I'm supposed to be excited to learn about people, that what I'm learning about people is I'm a kid. I don't know about people. They don't talk to me, that stuff. Because there's nothing there's no personality there. They're just weak-willed. I think I get away with it more in My Happy Marriage because it's played as a period piece and they quickly work through it and it's done in the scope of a marriage, as a high school drama. You could watch 90% of anime and get school, So it's kind of what am I seeing in this that I'm going to see anywhere else? So she gets to this school because she freezes up in a whatever, so she didn't get her first choice. Her family's still okay with it, but she's just this, I want friends, in her head. So she meets this guy. And this guy flat out just tells her, do you want my help or not? Do you want to change or not? Just ask. And he has he's not super forceful about it, but he's willing to help. And I think that's cool, is that if he spills something on her school uniform, he comes out with the same tracksuit or stuff like that. Or other people in the cast are a lot more fun or bubbly or whatever, and you see these bullies around here. And again, I think that's what helps, is because I don't like the main character at all. I think there's room for growth, and I think that's what the show is trying for. But I think what's going to help me, as somebody who has 5 million other shows I could watch, is that the people around her are going to make it worthwhile. So that maybe eventually her stuff about her personality is going to, slowly less be that much of a hindrance sort of thing. Because I'm okay with those kinds of characters if you have something else to tell, or if you have good characters around it. I had this problem with Shy, and I don't think Shy was that good of a show to combat the fact that the main character was just nothing other than her superpower. So it's just I kind of dropped it after a season because I don't think everything else. I mean, you would think a show like Shy would be awesome. A bunch of superheroes, a weird freaking dude, causing despair. And then I just felt like it was always on the edge, because there's always the edge where I don't know about you, and I think this is one of those. It's I give it a couple more episodes, see if the main character changes enough, or more importantly, the friends that she's getting improve enough that it kind of combats what I don't like about it. Because I've had shows that I've dropped already, so I'm not worried about this. I'm still on the fence about it. The other thing I will say about Honey Lemon Soda is the eyes. They have these unique, very big eye, designs. They will spend an inordinate amount of time looking at the main character's eyes because they are definitely unique. They're drawn with this almost think of what a lifesaver looks like, but black lines instead of the same color. It's she has these stark yellow eyes, and then these black drawings. They almost look like clocks. It's you would see it, you would know it. It's unique. It definitely has a unique aesthetic, at least for that aspect. It's just a strange thing to remember, but the show almost forces it, which is fine. I mean, you got to have some sort of hook, I suppose, and it's better this than having a show about tights or something, because that is a real thing. Apparently there's shows about tights, I guess. I don't fucking know. Certainly not something I would probably watch. Let's see. So we've got those. We also got back into Demon Lord 2099 a little bit. And they spent like a month getting back into episodes. I think Demon Lord 2099 and Natsume's Book of Friends. We'll start with Demon Lord 2099 because I said, near the tail end of fall that Demon Lord was good, but it was starting to falter. And then they changed course and they started doing the magic school stuff, and I was wondering where that would go. They actually managed a great episode because they kind of dropped all the pretense and they just went full on goofy for an episode, and I really enjoyed it. It just felt like, okay, this new girl is this maid. She's not liked well. She's, all this crap. They didn't have the weird techno babble. They didn't have the weird, these fights are going on a bit too long, stuff like that. It was just fun to have these like four main characters just talking and doing stupid shit, just eating food or goofing off. It felt nice for a change because the last few episodes were trying to be very serious, and I don't think that's the show's strong suit, despite being more like it's a comedy, but it's like in one of those like more intense ones where it's not trying to be slapstick. It's hard to describe. Like one of those action shows that has the comedic bend to it. That's the best way I would describe it. And I think if it leans into the hilarity a bit more, and it helps because I love the episodes where nothing happens. I've said this ever since I did that episode of Ergo Proxy. And in that specific episode, there was like midway to 2/3 of the way through Ergo Proxy was this episode where they're stranded in the middle of nowhere. Their stuff doesn't work, and all they're doing is showing the main character doing sit-ups or working out, and then the other guy just kind of putzing around trying to find stuff to do. Nothing happens. And yet they build rapport as characters. They're not doing plot. They're just doing stuff. In this, like Demon Lord 2099, they're moving the plot along, but they're not forcing it. They're giving you time with these people. And it's like, oh, I like this more. Because I like the setting, and they're not doing enough with the setting. But this seems like that balancing point of trying to do enough with the story but in setting without overwhelming me with nothing happening, because there is a balance you have to manage to not just have everything be story. So it was fun. Natsume's Book Friends, as usual, you just find an episode and you go with it. This episode was Tell Me Your Name, and this was one of the best ones. This season 7 has really focused on Reiko and learning like who she was as a person, and it was cool seeing her interact with another girl from another school who happens upon this yokai forest, and this yokai is just kind of observing, trying to deal with his own thing. Reiko comes off as very standoffish and annoying, but she comes off as playful in the same sense. And the story about her slowly becoming friends with this girl she didn't really want to be around, but this girl finding courage to slowly try to force it, and then slowly becoming friends. And then you see that Reiko did develop feelings and was starting to respect her time and being like, okay, this was fun. And then that's as Reiko does, slowly losing her interest, not by force, but realizing, okay, this person, it's a misunderstanding. They all wanted to be friends, but they couldn't. And the yokai trying to fix it, but couldn't because of the inability to speak to humans. It's one of those like subtle, sad stories that this show can do when it wants to. And I've really appreciated being able to, I was binge watching it up to this point, taking a couple weeks off, and then still being like, okay, I understand everything about it. Because it's the episodic nature. If I was to forget about it, well, that's fine. But, I've caught up with everything, and now I can go week by week by week and not feel like I'm losing anything. But speaking of losing, some shows had to lose out this season, and there are a few. So as I stated, the last set of recordings, the shows possibly The Greatest Alchemist of All Time and Magic Maker were both dumps. I added a couple more to this. I dropped one after the first episode. It was called Headhunted to Another World, Salaryman to Big Four. And one of my biggest pet peeves with a lot of shows that are trying to be that kind of junk food, because I'm willing to have junk. I'm willing to, at least give myself like one sort of show that's like, I know this isn't great and I normally drop it, but I'm okay with it. And I was okay with this for a while, but it felt like one of those shows that didn't know what it was trying to do and moving too fast, thinking you knew what it was trying to do. So, how would I put it? Showing you the thing and thinking you know the thing, so let's just go. Let's just keep moving the story because we don't have any time to like slow it down, just slow it down. It felt like there were pages missing. It's reading a book, every half page missing or every other page missing. It's just, what am I missing here? This dude like comes to this other world and he's basically given this elevator pitch of like, I'm willing to make everything you ever wanted come true in this like demon realm. Well, who are you fighting? You want to explain that? Okay, you explain the demi-humans and the whatever. Okay, that's fine. Could you explain who these characters are? Do you want to? No. Do you want to? No. You're not spending time explaining who this demon lord is. No. At most, you get this Salaryman thing. Okay, that's cool. Do you explain what he's doing here? No. Do you explain? There are things that they're missing. They're just moving from thing to thing, and they're like, okay, I have to mediate talking to this guy that this other girl is just not paying attention. Well, do you want to argue with her that she's, not paying attention? No, they're just saying, no, I just made the thing work somehow. Apparently we solved it. Like, do you want to explain the process? Like, do you want to explain your thought process of how you knew that this guy was talking a different language? No. And I just gave up. Because it's like, it's one of those. It's one of those things that is in such a hurry to do things because it thinks that we're stupid. And we're like, okay, we know and again, I knew that. Everything about the show is bog fucking standard. I get that. But you could at least make an effort to keep everything coherent. I think that's what pisses me off more, is that if it slowed the fuck down for 5 seconds, I think it would actually, not be good, but it would actually be tolerable. And I think that would have just driven me nuts, and it's just frustrating when you have those shows that exist just to exist rather than, okay, and even with the title, like I kind of knew it would be stupid, but it's like, you could try a little harder to make a bit more sense instead of trying to just get somewhere. Well, where are you getting to? I don't know. Like, I remember, what was it, last season? The not allowed to die in the other world or something like that. This was the show that I was thinking mostly of because as junky as it is, and most of the time, it still gives you something. It still gives you like a smidge of like, this guy feels like a character. These people feel like people on this journey. They're not, doing a thing just to do a thing and getting done with it. It's not hard to just make everything make sense and slow the fuck down so that you have things to do. So I think that was more frustrating than, and again, it's junk food. It's dumb. So I think I'm just more frustrated that I was like, I've spent an episode trying to convince myself to like you, and then I realized I didn't, so it was whatever. This one, I didn't even bother. Medaka Kuroiwa is immune to my charms. It's a romantic comedy about a girl who gets everything she wants because she's a beautiful girl, and everybody loves her because she's beautiful. And then this dude who's honestly, even by JRPG or anime protagonist standards, kind of dopey and bad looking, just says, "No, I don't care." And that's it. I chucked this into the bin as quickly as I chucked in Tomo-chan as a girl, and I was like, nope, don't need it. I'm done. I was just like, no. So I had stuff I liked. I had stuff I didn't like. I'm sure that there's going to be more stuff that I am going to add on. Happy Marriage, I'm going to keep continuing on to Apothecary Diaries and Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. Should have their dubbed episodes within the next week or so that's going to add even more. But it is good that I have a lot of shows this season that I am fond of, and I'm not just racing to drop things. Like, if I know I don't like a thing, I'm okay dropping it because I've got like 6 or 7 things that I can keep up on. But I'm liking this season a lot, and I knew that this season was going to be good. I think what I'm liking most is that it isn't just reliant on sequels. It's a good mixture of things, both good and bad, that I'm really enjoying, and it's still early. There still might be even more stuff that I could delve into, but that'll do for this week. Let's see what stuff we've got going on. Let's see. Ys 8, The Art of Exploration and Progression. So I've recorded that episode already, so that's going to be next week. And Golden Boy, that'll be a very quick run. That'll be a very quick episode. I doubt I would take 10 minutes on it, but that'd be kind of funny. It might break the record. Persona 5 Strikers, Machine, Too Many Losing Heroines, and going into April, I'll be talking about Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. I've gotten about halfway through the game already, and I bet by the next month or 2 months I'll have beaten it, so it'll be a perfect time to get that episode out. But that'll do for this week, and I'll see you next time. Citizen Strife, signing off.